action. And cutting. In 2017, a few different people came to my father and I, and they really felt that they had a word of the Lord that it was time for YWAM to start making films about what was happening on the mission field, to make films about YWAM. And one of those stories was the story of Paul and Rachel Dantumba and what they are doing and have been doing for decades now in Nigeria. And I had the privilege to visit Paul on the campus just in the very early stages of building this campus, and I met the actual boys, the former militants. I had the privilege to hang out with them and interview them. And for the first time, it struck me how radical Christianity is. The whole concept of the gospel. How Christ can forgive anyone of anything. And as I'm looking in the eyes of these boys who have killed, who have done terrible things, but I don't see that. I see Christ in them. I see Jesus in those eyes. And I was like, whoa, that's amazing. And I felt like I needed to just show the reality of this story and the reality of what Christianity is and should be.
Oh, this story is close to home. It really made me happy that someone is actually trying to bring this story to light, to tell the story, because we get to only hear the stories as news flash, and that is it. Boko Haram has actually literally taken over the whole place. They get into villages and they wipe the villages out. They kill their men, they take the girls as sex slaves, and you actually find little girls that become mothers as 10-year-olds, 11-year-olds, and it's a lot. So that someone actually thought of bringing this to light, it's really nice.
There's a lot of brutality in this film because there's a lot of brutality in the real story. And to not show some version of the suffering, I think, is to cheapen the power of the gospel and the transformational power of it.
The story of YWAM Nigeria, if you have blood running through your veins, then it's a very impacting story. It's hard not to be influenced by it. It's hard not to be compelled by it. And what Paul and Rachel are doing in Nigeria, YWAM Nigeria, and the difference that they're making in this world by service and making themselves available and obedience to whatever the Lord is telling them is just absolutely mind-blowing.
I don't know what it's going to do, but it's going to do something. I just got that feeling. And all we can do is step out in faith and in obedience, use our skills, and try to be as excellent as we can and as inspired as we can, and let God carry this project.
There was one particular line in this movie that Paul, the lead in this, he said to his friend John, he said, the best place or the safest place for you is where God wants you. And that has been my thing for the film industry. It's not always the red carpet and the champagne. Sometimes it's long hours, but if this is what God has called you to, then this is the best place for you, and this is that movie.
Many of the crew on our set are ex-students of Media Village School of Video Production, and through the years I've managed to see many of them enter the industry and become incredibly successful.
Yeah, well, I was always interested in film and also telling stories, and I think that going to YWAM really prepares you for thinking about other people and thinking about seeing the world through their eyes. And I think that really makes you a better storyteller.
I'm in the film industry because I want to be part of stories that are going to change communities. Such a story like this is something that really people need to know what is going on or what happened, so that people know and are aware of when they hear about rebels coming back to Christ. And these are stories that really happen and it's real.
So for me, it was an extension of my mission's calling to reach the nations, redeeming our cultures, and using film and media to do that. Being part of a project like this is just the ultimate coming together of all those things, missions, knowing God and making Him known through film and media. So it's such a privilege and just such a blessing to be involved in this project. Such a powerful story.
We consider YWAM our family, like our blood and our history, and I feel like it's just kind of ingrained in us naturally. And we grew up traveling around the world, visiting YWAMer families around the world, hearing different stories. So I feel like this project really captures the best of both worlds to what we're called to, film and television and storytelling, and getting to tell true stories of people we know and love and grew up with as family is really special.
Feels like the place that we get to come together as family, work together as family, and just really live out the calling that God has put on our families' lives, and to take from what our grandparents did in the mission field and start to work in our mission field as a family, which is so special, and come together, like Maddie said, and tell stories of people we know and be able to share what needs to be shared.
I was honored and privileged to be a part of this project, to help in any way I can to tell their story, tell the world what's going on down there, and also, champion them in a way where they can get volunteers to come and help what's going on down there.
In our hearts, we always wanted to tell a story that had such meat, such depth, such impact. And just being able to bring David's project to life for us has been so incredibly fulfilling. It's a beautiful story. And if we look at back myself 27 years ago, this is why I got in the industry. I wanted to tell stories that have an impact, and this is definitely one of them. So this is one of the highlights of my career, and here we stand out in the outskirts of Cape Town. And what a privilege to have David here. He's so talented. He's just got such incredible vision. He really knew the heart of the story he wanted to tell.
This is a nonprofit film, and it's essentially been crowdfunded. And a huge percentage of the money has come from YWAM staff and students from around the world, which is pretty amazing. YWAMers are volunteers. They raise their own financial support. So that's a humbling thing. And what I'm thrilled to report back to all of those who did give, including some of the people that this is based upon, including the militant boys, the former child soldiers, I was with them in Nigeria. They heard that we were going to make a story about them. One of them grabbed a garbage bag and went around the room and said, give, help tell this story. And I think it was $280 that came together. I was like, whoa. I still get touched about it. Because I don't know what that represents, in the Lord's currency. But that, for me, was an endorsement that this story needs to be told. So I'm thrilled to report back to all those that have given that we are being good stewards with what God's given.
Our Master, Jesus, said that we are to be witnesses unto him. And a movie about what he has done in the midst of a group called YWAM, I think is something that is fulfilling what he asked us to do. We're not trying to make stars out of ourselves. What we want to do is to exalt Jesus in what he is doing and has done all over the world.
The Lord confirmed to me that this is the place we are to start Youth with the Mission, Nigeria. To start our missionary training center here.